What is woman? And I don't mean the definition. I'm talking about where the word comes from. Where did it come from? How did it come to be? I think knowing that about a word is really important because where it comes from probably tells you a lot about the actual meaning of the word. And the people with their hair on fire today about the definition of what is a woman, I think they're probably working on definition number 3 or 4. And there's some real meaning buried in the root of the word. The root of the word is usually all tangled up with the actual original meaning. And I think it's funny that with everybody running around with their hair on fire about the definition, nobody's thought to look at where the word comes from, the actual origin of the word. So I did the work for everybody, and I'm going to tell you a story about where that pesky word came from. You have to go back about 600 AD. That's when Anglo-Saxons, Englishmen, started to write down words of the English language. And if you go back there and you poke around, you won't find woman. You won't find man. That's not what people like that were called then. A person with a uterus was called a whiff, and a person without a uterus was called were. So we had whiffs and wers, no man, no woman. There was a word that sounded like man, sounded exactly like man, but it had 2 ends, and it meant hero. It didn't have any kind of sex associated with it. There could be were mans and there could be whiff mans. So we need more. We need more than just that for a clue, because we're stuck with no man, no woman, meaning what we use those words for today. So I thought about what life was like back then, and I figured that whenever a man, hero, came back to the village, there probably was a lot of celebration. So in order to take the story any further, you have to take yourself back to what village life was like back then. And I figure that when a hero came back to the village, there was a big celebration. They probably danced, and they beat on drums, and they chanted. They chanted, "You the man, you the man, you the man." Ironically, we say that today, and we mean the same thing. We mean, you're a hero, you're a hero, you're a hero. And I think over time, they began to notice that there were way more wers that were mans than whiffs that were mans, heroes. And I'm not trying to be misogynistic. I think there's a pretty good explanation for that. I think back then, the wers did all the hunting and the fighting and the going to dangerous places. And the whiffs, they were gatherers. They gathered nuts and berries and picked plants and roots. So they just didn't have the opportunity. They didn't have as many opportunities to be a man as a wer did. Makes sense, right? So think about this. After hundreds of years of chanting, "You the man, you the man, you the man," they realized that whenever they said that, it was almost always a word that they were chanting about. So I think that enough of that over time, were and man, M-A-N-N, became kind of synonymous, and then were slowly died. Man, M-A-N-N, kind of became the dominant definition of a person without a uterus. And somewhere along the line, some scribe said, "You know what, I'm sick of doing 2 ends, I'm going to do 1. And there you have it, there's man. It didn't just pop out of nowhere like some people that study this stuff would have you think. It kind of evolved from that word hero. It's lost today. We don't use were at all, but we do have werewolf or werewolf. If you think about what that is, that's man, were, wolf. And that was a man during the day that turned into a nasty, scary wolf at night. Today we call it an asshole or a dipshit. But anyway, that's what happened to her. It's gone. And same kind of thing happened to whiff. Whiff became wife, which was a person with a uterus married to a person without a uterus. That was then, of course. Now we have uteri on both sides of that. It's all kind of confused. We live in interesting times, right? So anyway, we're now at the point where we've got word that's gone away. We probably still have whiff. And we've got this word man, M-A-N, that means a person with no uterus. What happened next is pretty simple to explain, and bear with me, I'm almost done. There was another word back then, W-O-E, like, woe is me, or a woeful expression, not a happy expression. So woe meant opposite or negative or not. You see where I'm going? Woe man means not man. There it is. It was in front of our face the whole time, and all these people running around with their hair on fire never bothered to go back and figure it out. I think it puts the whole argument about what is a woman to bed in a very simple, logical way. It's got nothing to do with dresses or how long your hair is or chromosomes or how you feel. It doesn't matter what's in your underwear. Woman means not man. And I have two more words to say. You're welcome. Thank you for your time.